Last week, a 200 level medical student of the University of Maiduguri slummed and died. Now, what's the story? He was studying with his friends in a cafe when he suddenly slummed, and this was around 7 p.m. His friends or his colleagues rushed him to the school clinic. On getting to the school clinic, there was no doctor, but there was a nurse who administered a certain medication. I'm not a medical practitioner or expert, so I'd rather read it from my screen. A medication known as dextrosaline. She administered it to him along with other medication his colleagues claim they did not know the names of the medications. And after a while, he opened his eyes. He checked his BP and his BP was normal. I think it was 100 over 80 or thereabout. It was okay. She continued administering the medication and then he passed out again. This time around, his BP was too high. I'm not a medical expert, so I'm not going to try to go into the details. That's not my field. It was too high. So when the colleagues started, blaming her for maybe administering a bad medication or a medication that was ineffective, she decided to, on behalf of the doctor who was absent, to write a referral to refer them to the teaching hospital, the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital. They got to the teaching hospital around 9 p.m. When they got to the hospital, first of all, there was no stretcher to take him out of the vehicle. They had to take him out by hand. They put him on a wheelchair. In the emergency room, there was no doctor, just one intern and some nurses. And then there were about 20 people in the emergency room already, and there was no space for them, so they had to wait their turn. When they had waited for too long, they became worried. So they had to call some of their senior colleagues. So it took the intervention of their senior colleague for a doctor who was not even on call to come from wherever he was, and this was around 11 p.m., to attend to this young man, who I heard is or was an orphan, no father, no mother. He was just striving to train himself, to see himself through school. This doctor who wasn't on call came in, but unfortunately, the guy died around 12 a.m. So the events that happened between 7 p.m., 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5 hours led up to his unfortunate demise. So now, let us talk about the legal aspect of all these things we've been talking about or I've been talking about. There is something called the Patient Bill of Rights. It's simply a document that explains to patients how they reasonably expect to be treated during their stay in the hospital, what should be done for them, how they should be attended to, etc. But I'm particularly concerned about the aspect that talks about how patients should be treated in emergency situations. So this document was launched in 2018 by Professor Yemi Osibanjo, the then Vice President, and it was championed by the Consumer Protection Council and the Federal Ministry of Health. So is this really an effective document, or should I call it a law or whatever it is? Or is it just another policy document, waste of paper and waste of time and energy? There's a part in that document, in the Bill of Rights, that says that the patients have the right to receive urgent, immediate, and sufficient intervention and care in the event of an emergency. Patients have a right to receive urgent, immediate, and sufficient intervention and care in the event of an emergency. Can we really say that this guy received immediate intervention, urgent intervention? Can we really say that the intervention was sufficient enough? Someone slummed in a cafe by 7 p.m., was moved to the school clinic, who did not have enough facility to take care of him. He was referred to a hospital, a federal hospital, where it was thought that he would receive the care. This was someone that had a hypertensive emergency. There was no stretcher to bring him out of the car. There was no doctor, just an intern and a few nurses. There was no space for him in the emergency room. Now, I know that Nigeria is bad. Our leaders are bad. But what about us? When you are to do your job, why don't you do it effectively? Why was there no doctor on call? Why was there no doctor to take care of him? I'm sure that there was someone that was supposed to be on duty, because they will not leave the hospital just like that without a doctor on call. Where was the doctor on call? Is it that the nurses did not know what to do to hold him down? Someone is having a hypertensive emergency and you're telling me there's no space. You cannot treat him by the corridor. You cannot find a bed somewhere else and just put him and, hold down the situation until the doctor comes out, and later we'll drag our leaders. So I'm just saying, before we have the moral justification to drag our leaders as individuals, what are we doing to make the country better? This kind of situation is not new. This is something that we see every day in Nigeria, in Nigerian hospitals. Sometimes it will take some crazy patients fighting doctors, making a scene. Sometimes their loved ones are already gone. You, the nurse who is doing this could have been your child, this could have been your brother. Your brother, your relative, or your loved one could be somewhere else while you are working, and you will not be there to save the situation. How about you have a heart? Forget about how bad the system is and just do your job. Where was the doctor that was on call? The funniest thing is that the narrative that was pushed after this guy died was that he had already died in the University of Maiduguri school clinic. Meanwhile, blood samples were taken, like I heard. Do they take blood samples from dead people? Do they do referrals for dead people? So you're referring his corpse to the teaching hospital to do what exactly there? To do an autopsy or post-mortem? These are the issues that we talk about every day. And until each and every one of us that is charged to discharge a certain responsibility in different positions, in different capacities, until we decide to be honest and sincere and serve with all our hearts, there's no need dragging our leaders. It's not going to get better. And until one family decides to stand up and hold a health professional or a hospital responsible and charge them to court and get justice, the rest will not sit up. I think it's about time that this Patient's Bill of Rights is given the attention that it needs. Every hospital should put it on their wall, put it near the emergency room, put it near all the wards, put it outside, place it at the gate, let everybody see and read it, so that you self will be nurse, will be doctor, you go know say as we dey come, we sabi our right. It is well with Nigeria.